I titled today's Neville Goddard conversation, Others Think and Feel What We Think and Feel. Still one of my favorite chapters from one of my favorite books, Prayer, The Art of Believing by Neville, is the section on law of thought transmission. Having a deep fascination for communication in a broad array of contexts, personal life, business life, I recognize the truth of this statement here, which I want to echo, in which he states, your consciousness is the light reflected on the mirror of your mind and projected in space to the one whom you think. By mentally speaking to the subjective mind, in your mind you cause the mirror of your mind to vibrate. Your vibrating mind modifies the light of consciousness reflected on it. The modified light of consciousness reaches the one toward whom it is directed and impringes on the mirror of his mind. It causes his mind to vibrate according to the modification it undergoes. Thus, it reproduces in him what was mentally affirmed by you. As we've been continuing our discussions in relation to this topic, where we recognize that people show up saying exactly what it is that we are imagining, thinking patterns, emotional patterns, behavioral patterns in relation to others reveal what others are thinking and feeling, and in reflection, reveal what we are thinking and feeling. One of the benefits of relating with so many people each day, everywhere that I am, I enjoy interacting with people. And being involved with entrepreneurship for many years, having the opportunity in leadership, sales, team building, relationship building, and I recognize it to its vivid accuracy more so every day. So I want to emphasize some of the important things that he discusses also in that chapter. He says, becoming mindful and embodying your future self can occur many times throughout the day. So every day we have a lot of opportunity to observe as we are relating with each other, what we are imagining, what we're thinking, what we are feeling, and how it corresponds, reflects as the interactions and relationships with each other. He gives some examples. He says, imagine that you're waiting for a friend who is running late. And instead of feeling frustrated and bothered, which may be certain thinking, emotional, or behavioral patterns, which is a result of identification with certain thinking patterns and associations that were formed, very important distinction. This is what I realized, is that thinking patterns, emotional patterns, behavioral patterns can be learned in a way that is not in alignment with how we actually are, which is in harmony with the fact of how we see ourselves in imagination, the ideal. And so he says, imagine that you're waiting for a friend who is running late, and instead of feeling frustrated and bothered, you're generating the energy of your future. So imagine this for a moment. We learn this in the day-to-day life, interacting with people, business, entrepreneurship has been very beneficial for me, because there have been times where I was doing deals and those that committed to show up were running late or they happened to miss the appointment. And one of the things that I learned is that the energy, my thinking patterns, my behavioral patterns was going to determine what was going to happen next. How I related with them, the relationship that I have with them, and it was very powerful. Energy of my future, recognizing that some way, somehow, even though I might not understand at that particular moment, it was in harmony and in contribution at a thinking level, at a behavioral level, at an emotional level, with my vision, with where I wanted my business to go. And something interesting would happen upon identifying with the vision or entering in that state of mind, in which I could have, in that moment, gone into a different state of mind, one that is representative, frustrated, bothered from the perspective of thinking patterns, behavioral patterns, emotional patterns. That is not true to how I am. As a result of recognizing and identifying with my ideal, what would happen was those relationships would change some way, somehow, to reflect the harmonious relationship. Again, going back to the beginning here, he says, your consciousness is the light reflected on the mirror of your mind and projected in space to the one of whom you think. By mentally speaking to the subjective image in your mind, you cause the mirror of your mind to vibrate. Your vibrating mind modifies the light of consciousness reflected on it. The modified light of consciousness reaches the one towards whom it is directed, even when they're not in our presence, because we recognize that all subconscious minds are connected. And impringes on the mirror of his mind, it causes his mind to vibrate according to the modification it undergoes, which is from the modification of love, harmony, mutual benefit, and so forth. Thus, it reproduces, or we could say they accept the suggestion of seeing them for how they truly are, which is from the perspective of love and harmony, in him what was mentally affirmed by you. And here he gives another example. He says, when you're sitting in traffic, instead of getting impatient and angry, practice tuning into the energy of your future with your eyes open. Feel it. We can think ourselves into a certain state of mind that is ideal with our vision. We can feel our way into an ideal state of mind that's one with our vision. We can behave in a way that will bring us into an ideal state of mind that is one with our vision, or a combination. And we can do this anywhere while we're sitting in traffic. And this is fascinating because in certain stages of my life, I found myself sitting in so much traffic. And what I find nowadays is I'm rarely in traffic. And if I am, I'm with someone and we're enjoying a deep conversation. I was thinking about the last time I was in LA, for example. Many people refer to the traffic in Los Angeles. And the times that I was sitting in traffic, I was engaged in conversation and we were enjoying it. Or there were times where I was sitting in traffic where I enjoyed having these inner dialogues with myself, reflecting upon my various initiatives and projects and so forth. And I remember doing this a while back when I was sitting in traffic. I used to listen to Brian Tracy or other information like this. And interestingly now, I find myself in way less traffic. Even a bunch of times when I was in LA, when I had certain meetings and get-togethers, without even checking the traffic reports, some way, somehow, we would coordinate these times very intuitively. That just happens to be in which we don't find ourselves in traffic. And then I remember one time also, I was with a friend and he said, this is how you get to this destination. And this is someone that actually lives in Los Angeles. And then I subconsciously missed an exit. And he was guiding me and he's like, oh, you missed an exit, but that's okay. You're going to go down a scenic pathway. And it turns out that scenic pathway by the water actually, for whatever the reason, had no traffic all the way to our destination. Such is the power of the subconscious mind. Number 3, he says, imagine that when you are in a line at the grocery store and judging a person, if a person is judging a person for what they are buying, you redirect your thoughts to feeling incredibly grateful for your new life, walking as your future self. And so this is what I found also on the journey. We have a lot of opportunity that's revealed if a person is condemning, shaming, or judging someone for what they do or how they desire to live. We have the opportunity to not shame the shame ourselves and actually let go in that moment emotionally, thinking patterns, and bring ourselves into the thinking and emotional patterns of how they actually are, which is from the perspective of love and harmony. And sometimes what ends up happening, you end up having a conversation with the person and you find this relatability. Again, going back to this part here. Your consciousness is the light reflected on the mirror of your mind and projected in space to the one whom you think. By mentally speaking to the subjective image in your mind, you cause the mirror of your mind to vibrate. The modified light of consciousness reaches the one towards whom it is directed and impringes on the mirror of his mind. It causes his mind to vibrate according to the modification it undergoes. Thus, it reproduces in him what was mentally affirmed by you. And this reminds me of actually one of my favorite quotes from Nikola Tesla, in which he says, if you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. And how does one think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration? We can call this thinking feelingly or feeling thoughtfully in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration, which is representative here by this quote. He says, your vibrating mind modifies the light of consciousness reflected on it. And again, I recommend this chapter from Prayer, The Art of Believing by Neville Goddard, The Law of Thought Transmission. And I want to further discuss this in our upcoming Neville conversations because I've received a number of emails and comments For many people who have integrated what we've been discussing in regards to personal magnetism, and they're noticing positive changes in their lives in relation to personal and business relationships. And so thus I want to further encourage this. Another example he gives, imagine when you walk to your car in the parking lot or to your mailbox. You're naturally empowered by the thought of your new life. So all of this is about how you personally relate to people, environment, circumstance, and information from within. And by relate, it's our state of mind in relation to, which is revealed by our thinking patterns, behavioral patterns, emotional patterns. And we focus on changing ourselves in relation to. And even if we don't consciously understand, one doesn't even need to consciously understand the mechanics of how the unknown, the invisible powers work. By working with this information, we can see and experience the changes. And as we continue to see and experience the changes and encourage these changes that are occurring as a result of the reference experience, we further identify with the ideal state of mind, the self-image of how we truly are, and it plays out in our relationships in many different ways. And these things become automatic. And so to add, he says, then you'll begin to accept, believe, and surrender the thoughts equal to that emotional state. And as you surrender to these thoughts, your body will make the chemistry equal to that emotional state. So we can relate this over to our conversation that we had on Tuesday, in which we discuss Joe Dispenza's work, the walking meditation, and the heart and mind relationship. I recommend watching that video. I'll put a link in the description to it. And so to relate, he says, this is how you begin to program your autonomic nervous system into a different destiny. And the more you practice it, the less likely you are to return to autopilot and miss the present moment. Because we recognize that all power, all opportunity is in this present moment. And we have the opportunity wherever we are. As you mentioned, waiting for a friend who's running late, sitting in traffic, a grocery store, parking lot, wherever we are, we have the opportunity to observe, be more mindful of our thinking, emotional, and behavioral patterns, body language, tonality, etc., in relation to how we imagine people to be in our mind's eye. Recognizing that if we want a flow-based, harmonious journey and harmonious relationship with each other, then we want to see and imagine people for how they truly are, which is from the perspective of love. And there are many ways that we can consciously imagine it, five sensory in imagination or mind's eye, in relation to the facts of imagination. And also we can feel it or behave it into the emotional state. For example, I notice that if I'm getting reactive, I think about my goal, my vision, my definite chief aim. And instantaneously, I bring myself back into the state, further encouraging the true and harmonious thinking, emotional, and behavioral patterns. That, as he says here, this is how you begin to program your autonomic nervous system into a different destiny. I am that now. Reality is the affirmation in mind. Emotionally, I feel it. You get better at it with practice. You feel whatever heavy energy, allow the emotions, and then you feel how you would like to feel. And then you get into that state of mind, which again is revealed in your thinking patterns, emotional patterns, and behavioral patterns that are now in harmony with that state of mind. And then another way I do is behavioral. I say to myself, what's the next thing to do that is ideal, that I want to do, that I feel like doing? I commit to and I do that thing. And whatever it is, I start to notice that I'm thinking clearly and accurately in relation to my goal, in relation to my vision. And so the big opportunity here is that others think and feel what we think and feel. To recognize that relationships, friendships, business interactions with people that we have not met yet, everywhere we are, and how we relate to them internally by being more mindful with our thinking, emotional, and behavioral patterns are revealing our state of mind. And we have the opportunity then to go into the ideal state of mind. Thinking and feeling ideal state of mind, the heart and mind relationship, in which then, as he says here, you'll then begin to accept, believe, and surrender to the thoughts equal to that emotional state. And as you surrender to those thoughts, your body will make the chemistry equal to that emotional state. And I love this because I'm a very chemistry person. I share this a lot with my friends and business partners. I say, I want to have chemistry towards the deal. I want to feel the chemistry to doing the thing. Because I have a desire to do what I really feel like doing, what intuitively feels right. And that's where I find the internal chemistry, how I feel, propels me in that direction. And this is extremely powerful in entrepreneurship because I found that in previous stages of my journey, connect the dots looking backwards. When I didn't feel that chemistry, I would force myself to do things, and that wasn't a pleasant experience for me. And so when I feel chemistry towards a deal or an opportunity, I find myself automatically compelled, moving, thinking patterns, emotional patterns, behavioral patterns, automatically flowing, and those deals end up producing success and radical amount of success for all parties involved. Everybody genuinely wants to be there, and they're thinking, emotionally relating, and behaving in harmony and in sync in a mutually beneficial way. So I trust you found this video to be helpful. Let's go ahead and further encourage this with an auto-suggestion. You could say, I recognize to a higher degree my ability to be present and aware to my thinking patterns, emotional patterns, and behavioral patterns to reveal within myself what I am subconsciously identifying with, and allowing myself to release from thinking patterns, emotional patterns, behavioral patterns in the moment, instantaneously, that are not true and in harmony with how I actually am, to identify the true and accurate thinking patterns, emotional patterns, behavioral patterns from within as I allow them to express, recognizing that body is an expression of mind, a representation of mind, from the premise of my ideal state of mind and my vision realized. If you would like a copy of this mind map, the link is in the description. Thank you very much for watching. I'll talk to you soon. Take care.